This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning into the program. It's Tuesday, August the 12th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly, David Williams. He's the producer. You'll be speaking with Dave when you give us a shout to get in the queue and on the air. So, if you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. So let's ease into it. Making 2 medals for Newfoundland and Labrador at the Canada Summer Games. Thomas Pelly, silver medal in the pool yesterday. Congratulations to Thomas. And if you want to have a little chat about the sports or the events that you're taking in as a either participant or a parent or simply a spectator, there's lots of really serious stuff going on, but maybe we can pepper some of the program with some of these good news stories based on the accomplishments and the efforts of the young athletes participating in the games. Planning on getting over to the rugby pitch. We should be into the playoff rounds in that particular sport. First time ever for the women to be playing lacrosse. First time ever for the women to be playing baseball at the game. So lots of fun stuff. A couple other random notes. It was on this date, August the 12th, 1816, the very first Royal St. John's Regatta was held at Kitty Vitty Lake. Now, there had been rowing races in St. John's Harbour prior to it, but that's the record of the first organized regatta, of course, the oldest organized sporting event in North America. And I remember this quite clearly. Back in the day where we were Montreal Expos fans, it was on the 12th of August, 1994. MLB goes on strike. It was probably the best chance the Expos ever had to win it all. At the time, they were 6 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves in the National League East, and the strike happened, and there went their opportunity. All right. So, wildfire roundup. There's people out there pretty frazzled, and it's stressful times for folks who are immediately and directly impacted by these wildfires. And of course, many of us would have friends and family who are in communities who have been impacted, such as Paradise with an evacuation alert yesterday, and one of my sons lives out there, so haul him in and out of that. And we can try to get a breakdown from some of the fire duty officers here in the province. But, you know, it's hot out, no question. 30 degrees again today. You can only imagine how hot it is in a full firefighting equipment and suit and up against these fires. So bravo, be careful to everyone who's trying their level best to protect community and protect infrastructure. It's pretty damning stuff for many parts of the province. We can get into whether it be the Paddy's Pond fire, Conception Bay North, the Martin Lake, the Holyrood and Labrador fires. We can get into evacuation alerts. But on that front, I have received some people's concerns regarding the alerts, evacuation alerts, which gives you plenty of time before there's an evacuation order. But it's the responsibility of a branch of the Department of Justice, Fire, Emergency and Corporate Services. So it's all managed by the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre at the Emergency Services Division. The concern that I'm hearing is that some people are reporting get an evacuation alert much later than some of their friends, some of their neighbors. So I don't know why that would be. You would think it would be pretty streamlined. If there's an alert or an order, everybody who's in that area would get the alert or the order at the exact same time, but apparently that's not happening. We'll try to figure out what might be the glitch in that particular system, because as we know, the fires can move very quickly and information is key and king. And we can talk about anything regarding the wildfire situation as you see it. One area where I'm a little bit confused, the province has now announced some one-time financial assistance, emergency financial assistance, for folks who have been evacuated. I was pretty sure I heard a government official the other day say it would be $500 per evacuee, but now we're told it's $500 per household. So that's going to float out. It's going to be distributed through the Canadian Red Cross. There's eligibility issues, and you can see all that information right there on the government's website. But I thought it was going to be $500 per head, but it's $500 per household. So a little bit of confusion on that front. While we deal with the fires, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, or myself, I should say, and talk about things like preparedness. You know, we really do need to know exactly what the protocols are at the provincial government for things like fire load and the deadfall or the windfall in the forest, and whether it be about predictable fire breaks that would be required. I don't know exactly what we do, and I'm not saying or suggesting that we've done too little or have dropped the ball, but it would be nice to know, just to have some of that information available to us. What do you think? Also, in the world of fines, got a plenty of people really going hard at the government for government overreach and the fire ban. I think there's examples where people can talk about government's actions in other provinces where you can't even go for a walk in the woods, even though we know the vast majority of fires have been started by human activity. Not necessarily arson all the time, but human activity. So right now it's simply a fire ban. And yes, the fines are extraordinary. And compare those to some other crimes that are on the books and compare the punishment available. Imagine up to $150,000 and a year in jail for starting a fire. So basically, just don't start a fire. Just don't be at it, and everything that we can do with our own personal responsibility, let's try to do exactly that as we think about the firefighters, as we think about the people who are displaced. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes as a result. We know other provinces are chipping in, Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and more yet to come. I think there's some equipment coming from New Brunswick as well, so we thank them for trying to help us get through this particular issue. There's also military assistance. There was a call yesterday talking about pay raises afforded to members of the Canadian military. There has not been a change to the pay and benefit system since 1998. So on the path to this 5% of GDP, we're going to be going from $40-odd billion to $60-odd billion with 2% of GDP, and to hit the 5% target, it's going to be like at least $150 billion per year. Of course, a lot of that has to go to equipment and preparedness, but certainly some of it needs to go to the men and women who are members of the Canadian Armed Forces. So $2 billion per year just on this pay raise itself. So let's get into some of the folks who will indeed see this pay bump. And for the most part, I would suggest rightfully so. Lowest ranks of the regular force, privates, ordinary sailors, aviators, 20% boost. Reservists will get a 13% boost. Non-commissioned members, junior officers up to the rank of naval commander or lieutenant colonel, receive a 13% pay hike. Officers of the rank colonel and above receive an increase of 8%. There's also bonuses for recruits in stressed trades to complete their basic training. That's $10,000, another $20,000 when training is completed, another $20,000 once they've gone through their first term of service. Also additional monies for deployment. That call sparked a few emails, and they were kind of split down the middle as to whether or not this was a good thing or a bad thing. But when someone who is, for all intents and purposes, willing to put their life on the line for the country and the country's military through all the branches, hasn't seen an adjustment to pay or benefits since 1998, maybe, just maybe, it is a good idea, considering the fact that the updated number is the military across all branches is short at least 13,000 members. So, of course, these will be helpful incentives to ensure we get a full complement. You want to talk about it, we could do it. Also on that front, to spend all of this money, these additional monies, there's got to be a careful focus on domestic procurement. Not to say we have to mimic the military-industrial complex that is the United States of America, but even things like a go to tender for these night vision goggles, and with a very specific clause that eliminates every company in the world, including those providing said equipment to NATO members, and it leaves it to a $100 million contract for an American company. So we've got to probably figure that out a little bit better. What do you think? All right. And, of course, this is important, I would imagine, to many people in Harbour Grace, including Mayor Don Coombs, who was on yesterday to tell us that, based on a tip last Friday, the RCMP have recovered the Amelia Earhart statue. For starters, I mean, it's 300 kilograms, and so who would possibly think it's worthwhile to steal that and a couple of the plaques and then chop it up? So apparently it's been cut, on seams that can't see the statue put back together. But a couple of questions on the tip. So the tip, I suppose, led to the location of the statue in the woods somewhere in Trinity Bay. Does the tip also include some possible suspects for who stole it? And I know when we're dealing with all these other massive matters that this might not be a big concern to you, but it was for folks in the area. And let's see if we can't catch whoever's at it. What do you think? All right. Today, the 12th of August, starting at 1 p.m. in the House of Assembly chamber, the Public Accounts Committee is holding public hearings on what they call the health sector contracts. travel agency nurses. We know the stories. So Dr. Pat Parfrey, the chief executive officer, other senior officials will be questioned by members of the committee, justifiably so. So about the procurement process, who signed off on, some of the contract controls that were obviously lacking, planning methods and other things that were broached in the report. And we were talking about hundreds of millions of dollars over a few years. So yes, obvious questions that need to be asked. The same thing I thought when this was initially announced is that it's one thing to get senior leadership from across the healthcare sector to be able to answer these questions, and we need answers. But when we talked about one of the most scathing things in the report was the possibility for fraud. Now, we know that people didn't sign on to conflicts of interest and were landlords renting to travel agency nurses. Some of those folks may indeed be responsible for letting go registered nurses working in the public system to bring in travel agency nurses to then consequently rent them their property. Massive problem. But in the examples of fraud, it would be nice if folks who are directly responsible for paying out these invoices without the required oversight, it would be nice to hear from them as well. We know the buck stops on the big desks, but we also know that many of those folks in senior leadership would not, in a day-to-day operational standard, be signing off on these invoices. So whether it be rental cars that for people that are not even here, whether it be for overtime that we don't even know was worked. So there's a lot to answer for here, and thankfully this committee will hold these hearings today. The chamber is open. There's also going to be a live audio feed through the House of Assembly's website. You'll be able to follow on social media, but there's a lot yet to be understood. We're told that additional guardrails and safeguards have been implemented. That's good, but we still have to know exactly the who, knew, what, whens during that 3-year period identified by Denise Hanrahan and her team. Also, and I think people are right when they say, we get the AG report and then there's some questions and then the government says we accept the recommendations and then nothing. Let's bring back on the front burner the personal care home report, which was, I think scathing is always the right adjective here, but they were talking about verbal abuse, sexual abuse, a death as a result of errors. Someone died. There was medication given to a resident of a personal care home, multiple doses, but it was actually medicine intended for another resident. Consequently, that person died. There was 41 examples of medication incidents in just a 3-month period. Missing drugs, a needle left on an insulin pen, which is, of course, supposed to be just a single use. So there's a lot here. Compliance issues. And I think the Personal Care Home Association, they would like to see this handled in a more public matter. Not because I say so, because they say so. Because compliance sometimes feels like real big issues like the incorrect administration of medication. But it can be a loose doorknob or what have you. So, government, you accept the recommendations, but the operational standards have not been updated since 2007. Apparently, there's a draft of an updated operational standard sitting somewhere in Confederation Building. So, an update as to where exactly are we here? Can we indeed see the modernization of that document and then public disclosure on a continuous basis for things like compliance? Why wouldn't that be a good idea for everybody? It might be me, it might be you, it might be someone belonging to you that would be a resident in a personal care home sometime in the future or currently. Plenty of good homes, plenty of good staff, but when we can identify those areas of concern and so the public knows what we're looking at and knows which homes are following up in a timely fashion on non-compliance issues, I think it'd be helpful. What do you think? All right, a couple of travel notes. So the Privacy Commissioner of Canada is going to take a look at what happened with the WestJet cyber attack that happened earlier this year. Apparently no credit card or debit card numbers have been compromised or passwords, but plenty of information was. So anything regarding your name, your date of birth, your email address, your mailing address, your phone number, your gender, recent travel booking history, travel booking numbers. Of course, this can all lead to your identity being stolen. So it's good for the Privacy Commissioner to have a look at this, but in the world of cybersecurity, some of us, maybe me sometimes, a little bit too laissez-faire when lurking around every digital corner is someone who's trying to steal my info. So we'll see what the Privacy Commissioner comes up with here. But these massive corporations, including all levels of government, need to be much more stringent and much more diligent in protecting my information. If you want to store it all digitally, then you owe us every bit of protection that you can. Now, WestJet is going to offer 24 months of monitoring free of identity theft and the potential for your banking information or what have you to be compromise, and 24 months not good enough. Those who stole it, they can wait you out. So anyway, also in travel, apparently there's 4 major airports across the country today will see a national day of action, Air Canada flight attendants. So they're going to be holding these demonstrations at Calgary International, Vancouver International, Pearson in Toronto, and Montreal's Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport. Apparently it's about some of the duties for boarding and deplaning where the attendants say they're not getting paid appropriately. There is a offer that's been reported, not confirmed by either side, of a 30% pay increase over the course of the next 3 years. And here's some of the timing. Now, Air Canada is saying there's no need to consider cancelling your flights yet. But here's some of the details as to when they could indeed go on strike, if they can't reach an agreement, that is. The earliest they can go on strike is Friday at 12:01 Eastern Standard Time on August the 16th. CUPE, of course, the representative organization, has to provide 72-hour notice of strike action, and in a statement, they say the earliest that could be issued is tomorrow, the 13th of August. So, obviously, whether it be for people trying to get in and out of here after participating in the Canada Summer Games, in and out of here as tourists, in and out of here as just members of the general public, there may indeed be some job action at Air Canada, possibly, if they can't reach an agreement, which is not great. People want me to keep Marine Atlantic out front. Happy to do it. You know, it was kind of cute by half when the promise was to cut fees by at least half. And they've done it, but just for passenger vehicles, not for commercial vehicles. You know, I still think it was a bit of a stretch to think if the fees for commercial travel were also cut in half, that would see any sort of reduced cost for any goods or services that come across via Marine Atlantic. But if that's something you want to take on, we can do it. I think the primary concern for people, whether it be commercial truck drivers and or just regular passenger traffic, is how can the people of this province be treated differently insofar as booking, given the fact that it's our constitutional highway? It's a good question. I've had people offer a bunch of different suggestions as to what that could or should look like. I don't know how we balance the need for not only commercial traffic, but obviously for folks who want to come here as out-of-province visitors to spend their money here, which is a real economic shot in the arm. How do we prioritize or have some sort of hierarchy for booking that accommodates people from this province first? It's a fascinating conversation. I've heard lots of really good ideas, but if you want to take it on, we can do it. And, oh boy, people can complain about whatever they like. But it is remarkable to me that in the world of just stark hypocrisy, that people are complaining, and do as you see fit, about some restrictions, say, for instance, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, regarding the fires and not allowed in the woods, all that kind of stuff. And at the exact same time, the same people in emails to me and on social media threads applauding the fact that the president has deployed the military to the streets of D.C. Federal court is still trying to figure out the constitutionality of the president sending the military into Los Angeles. But which one is it? Is it not more serious to see the military on the streets versus you can't go in the woods while they try to deal with a wildfire season? Anyway, there must be something really bad in those Epstein documents. We are on Twitter. We're VOCM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. How are we doing on the phone, Dave? Let's have a great show when we come back. That means you're in the queue to talk about whatever's on your mind. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's begin this morning on the top of the board. Line number 1, going to the mayor of CBS. That's Darren Bent. Good morning, Mayor Bent. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. Thank you for reaching out. And, of course, we're all talking wildfires, I guess, here in CBS and Paradise this morning and other places. And of course, our thoughts go out to our friends in Conception Bay North who are enduring some devastating times over there over the past week or two. We're starting to deal with a little more on this side now. Thankfully, we were able to get residents in the west end of our town in Holyrood back into their homes over the last 3 or 4 days. And now, of course, we have a new threat just out at Paddy's Pond, which is not too far from Paradise and Conception Bay South borders, where, there's probably close on 15,000 people who are now sitting on an evacuation alert. And, of course, they're very concerned. It's very worrisome, to be told that in a moment's notice you have to leave all your worldly possessions behind, basically, and find somewhere else to be, and then you wait, and there's nothing else you can do, and that's a absolutely terrible situation to be in. But here we are, so it's the best thing that we can do is to follow all the instructions of the authorities with the province that are monitoring this very closely, and we have our own emergency operations center set up here in Conception Bay South. I'm sure they do in Paradise and elsewhere, and they are in direct contact with the provincial emergency operations center, forestry, and so forth, determining every move that is prudent. So we put out updates ourselves. I know the province does, and in between those updates, people shouldn't speculate as to what is happening. I can tell you that everybody's talking about what should happen next and what the proper things to do are. But anyway, Patty, we have probably about 10,000 people in Conception Bay South on an evacuation alert from yesterday. We know, and I think you've probably had reports on already, that the fire has not in any significant way progressed towards Conception Bay South, but it is still out of control and a very serious fire in the Paddy's Pond, Thomas Pond area up there. And right now, smoke is not blowing into the CBS area, and I understand probably not the Paradise area now, but they could tell you better. So we don't have that happening, which would indicate, from what we understand, is that that smoke is not threatening homes here in this area right now. But it's still it's a big concern, because as we know, and as our friends in CBN know, these things can change on a dime, and then of course an alert changes to an order, and then we're into a completely different ball game then.
Yeah, it's hard to, even sitting in this chair, it's hard to know how to speak to these issues without being so-called fearmonger, because I have no intention of being that person. But, if you get an evacuation alert, I guess it's just prudent to take it seriously enough that you do the required preparation. As simple as that. So
Patty, yeah, it's the second worst bit of news you can get. Okay, so really, pay attention to the alert. Be ready, and pack those things that are absolutely essential. And things that are important to you. Be ready. There's a couple things. Like I said, if the wind goes the other way, we're smoked out here. Then you need to have been ready. Part of the being ready, is, and I know that the Red Cross have done an excellent job of finding lodging and stuff. But if you have friends or family that you're thinking about, maybe I could stay with them, don't wait for the evacuation notice to call them. Call them now. Like, make those arrangements. Make those arrangements now. Be ready for that. Here's the other thing, Patty, and it's especially important for me to let the residents of Conception Bay South know, and any other residents that may be in this situation, that if you've left your home and you're outside the evacuation alert area and it changes from an alert to an order, you cannot get back in. And I know we've seen it before, where people come to the line and they argue for all kinds of wonderful reasons. They're not getting back into an evacuated area. So if you've left and gone to work this morning, and there's nobody at your home, and you're thinking, well, if the alert comes out, I can go home and get my stuff. No, you're not getting back in, and that's the rules of the province, and they will monitor that, and they will have blocks up and so forth for people to get out, not to get in. So you're not going to be able to access an evacuated area, and that's really, really important for our residents to understand. I'm not at our emergency operations center this morning. I'm in the alert area. I'm staying home until the alert comes, because I know I can't get back in if I'm sat down at the operations center. So I'm doing my communications from home for that very reason. And I encourage anyone out there that, if their home is empty and they haven't done the stuff that they need to do, they ought to do it just in case. And look, this is precautionary. I get it. But we don't know what's going to happen with that fire, and look at what's happening in CBN now. Communities that never thought that it would get anywhere near them are now evacuated. And, this is Mother Nature, at her finest, and we have no control over. And as we know, our technology doesn't allow us to put fires out when they pop up immediately, and this could go on for days. We had people out of their homes in CBS, and I know in parts of Holyrood as well, for 5 nights from the last fire, and it wasn't I won't want to call it not a huge fire, but it's certainly a concerning fire because it was so close to homes. But so when people leave, it's not just like don't be prepared for one night. You may be gone for 5 nights. And I know Red Cross and Salvation Army will be there to help people, and I encourage everyone that if that were to happen, to make sure they register. But you can't get back into an evacuated area, and that's a big that's something I really want our residents to be aware of.
Fair enough. Last one and quick one before I have to get going. How long do people have to leave if the evacuation alert turns into an evacuation order?
Yeah, so it's a notice of immediate. So whether there's going to be a time frame on that, but they're going to want to see people move as quickly as possible. But Patty, I got to say one thing before I go. We really, really need people to stop going up to Peacekeepers Way, up on the highway, up at the top of Fowler's Road, up Minerals Road, and all these places trying to get pictures. They're absolutely in the way. I think anybody that came in the highway this morning realized it's bumper to bumper. It's hard traveling. We don't need people up there on the sides of the road taking pictures. It's a real concern for emergency people that may need to get by. It's a real concern for the safety of those who are trying to do it. And we're just asking people to just stay away from those areas. We're in an evacuation alert situation here in CBS. We're not here for sightseeing. Appreciate the time, Mayor Ben. Stay in touch. Take care. You're welcome. You too. Bye-bye. That's Darren Bent, Mayor of CBS. All right, let's get to the break. When we go back next in the queue to talk about water bombers, and then whatever you want to talk about right after him. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning, Nick. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you doing today?
Doing okay. Thank you. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Just wondering, planning for the future and everything like that, has the province put any thought to increasing our water bomber fleet? I mean, we're looking at one of the hottest summers and driest that we've had here on the Avalon in living memory. And this is just, a shape of things to come. Climate change.
No question. So we had 5 water bombers in the fleet. That 5th one, of course, was damaged back in 2018. The government hummed and hawed about replacing it or fixing it or getting a new one. And now they've led a $17 million contract to de Havilland to repair it. It won't be back in service until the 26-27 wildfire season, so that's that one. And in addition, say, for instance, adding more to the fleet to make it more than 5, even if you place an order today, you can't get a water bomber from de Havilland, the CL-415, which used to be Bombardier. De Havilland bought the rights to it. You can't even get one until 2032 or 2033. Manitoba put down an $80 million down payment on 2 water bombers, and they're not getting them until then. So the best we can hope for is to repair that 5th. Even if we put it in order, we're going to be years before it arrives.
That's true, but that's no excuse not to put in an order.
Oh, no. I'm not saying it is. Right. I'm just kind of giving some of the timelines that we've heard from de Havilland. The countries that are in the queue first at de Havilland are European countries. Apparently, this country and various provinces, they kind of were a bit behind the times in getting these orders in. So I believe Manitoba is next in the queue for a Canadian province to see a water bomber built by de Havilland.
Well, that's it. Just wanted to put it out there, right? The more pressure we put on our politicians, the more they're forced to act I'm sure there's not just one company in the world building water bombers, or if the demand is there, well, then they increase production, right?
De Havilland says they are expanding capacity, but the most recent timelines we have are, as I said, 2032, 2033 before the water bombers ordered by any province in this country can be delivered. So I don't know how quickly they can expand capacity. I believe their main plant is just outside of Calgary, if I'm not mistaken. And, my question would also be, is as a Canadian company, and we talk about some of the rights that they bought from Bombardier, there's been an awful lot of federal government money gone into the coffers of both de Havilland and Bombardier over the years. So you wonder whether or not the priority for new bombers to be built and delivered should be for Canadian provinces. I would start there.
True, yep. All right, thanks for your time today, Patty.
I appreciate yours, Nick. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Take good care, buddy. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. It really, hindsight 2020, all that stuff. But repairing that fifth water bomber just really should have been done anyway. I mean, we were told many, many times that, well, we don't need 5. 4 is fine. Well, apparently at some point we needed 5. How do I know that? Because we had 5. So something maybe should change on that front. What do you think? So let's see here. Let's move on to line numbers 7 and 8 and say good morning to the co-chair at ARC NL. That's Dr. Sobia Sheikh. And Laura Bell Imba is a member who supports the Association for New Canadians. They join us both on line 7 and 8. Good morning to you both. You're on the air.
Morning, Patty. And I don't work with the ANC, but I have worked supporting them previously, yes.
Very well. Welcome to the program. So I don't know who wants to field this conversation first, but this was an invitation that was sent off to you folks on the heels of a call that was about this particular caller's worry about Sharia law taking over to be the governing rule of Canadians, and the thought of the Islamophobia that was on display during that call, so say many. Where would you like to start?
I guess we can start with Dr. Sobia Sheikh.
Okay.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having us, and thanks for inviting us. Yeah, we were really struck by the conversation, and also some of the great responses afterwards on that call. But I want to start off by saying I'm really what's on my mind right now is the fire here, and really thinking, feeling that a lot of people are really, displaced and feeling really sad about that. But we're here. Basically, we were concerned about the call because there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of stereotypes and untrue statistics. For example, I think the caller said that there was 10,000 Muslim folks in the province. And the last census said 1,000 people. Even if it has grown, it's definitely not grown 10 times. There's, the caller was really talking about something that's been proven as wrong, the white replacement theory, this idea that Muslims and South Asians and Black people and Jewish people and et cetera, anybody who is seen as not white or not Anglo-Saxon are replacing white folks, and it's from the early 20th century Europe that this is not a new trope. It's been debunked multiple times, and so we were really concerned about that. That's where I'll start.
And I don't even know how to ask this particular question, but the bulk of the concern, certainly initially during that call, was the whole concept of Sharia law. Even though we know there are Muslim majority countries in this world that do not govern themselves by Sharia law, Turkey comes to mind. So how many, I don't know if you have any specific numbers here, but talk about the practice of Sharia law amongst the Muslim community once they leave Muslim majority countries, whether that be anywhere in the world. Because that was kind of the crux of her concern.
Well, I mean, I think you answered that really well on the call. I think that Sharia law is a legal system that has history in the Muslim histories. It's something that's been developed. It's not unlike the English common law that our nation is, upholding, and that there's many types of legal systems, and not everybody, and particularly in Canada, I think I'm part of many groups who are not interested in Muslim groups that are not interested in Sharia law. Sharia law is a legal system. It's outdated, some people would argue. Some people would argue that, English common law is also outdated, and we use a lot of our law, a lot of those roots. And we're finding in North American legal systems. So the idea that Sharia law is coming here is really a non-issue. I think again it goes back to this idea that this anxiety that we're going to be replaced by newcomers, and it's built on just misunderstanding anything that is seen as different, anything that's seen as Muslim in particular. In this case, it's seen as threatening, and again, it's a legal system that has been used for centuries, and again, it's evolving. Like all law systems, Sharia law changes over time, just like our own legal system does.
Fair enough. There was also, I'm just trying to recall some of the different areas that were covered, insofar as who socializes with who, which kind of felt a bit strange to me because I live in a school neighborhood and I see the kids interacting with each other regardless of where they're from, country of origin, the faith that they practice. So that was another area where she said, newcomers, especially Muslims, do not associate with other non-Muslim Canadians in this case. So can you speak to that social aspect of her comments?
Sylvia, if you don't mind, I can touch that. So that's completely untrue and unfounded, and I can state that as in not just within Newfoundland and Labrador, as someone who's also happened to live in other provinces within Canada. Growing up in Ontario, my neighbors were Muslim, and we were the closest of friends. We hung out together. We would play soccer together, even as far as here, through the work I do with anti-racism education and all of that. There are Muslim and non-Muslim students in my programming, and they are working together, playing together. They are friends for all intents and purposes. They are not, there isn't a separatist idea where non-Muslims aren't allowed or aren't seen or welcomed into Muslim spaces with friends. So that's completely unfounded.
Muslim women being allowed to work and be out on their own, not accompanied by a man. I'm just bouncing around trying to recall some of the things I heard.
I think that was really funny, actually, because a lot of wasn't funny. It was horrific. But the idea that Muslim women are not, political being in Islam, for example, we are told as women we are supposed to be out in the world and be part of business, be part of. It's one of the first religions that allow that, or that explicitly taught that, and so it's kind of funny. I think a lot of non-mixing is, I think some of the studies show that people, not just Muslim folks, but also other immigrants, one of the biggest reasons that there are sometimes groups of people hanging out together is because of racism, and actually that's one of the biggest reasons that there's fear. And ideas like the ones that are being promoted in that call, are really are kind of stand. It just didn't make sense. It's just not true. I mean, I'm Muslim. I'm out in the community. I'm very out in the world. Other folks are. I think you had a caller who was Muslim as well. I mean, there's a lot of Muslim women generally. Again, there's some worry about violence and racist violence in some of the families, some of the communities.
Laura Bell, and then Dr. Sheikh, I'll give you the final thoughts before we have to say goodbye this morning.
Absolutely. So speaking, I'm just going to support what Dr. Sheikh said in terms of Muslim women being allowed to be out in community and doing things. Even if we look at education. There are lots of Muslim women studying in fields that would require them to be out and be part of the community. So those statements were completely unfounded. And if we just look at the business sector here, there are tons of businesses that are predominantly led by Muslim women. I know MON Center for Entrepreneurship, which supports women and marginalized genders in terms of making sure that they can enter the business gate. I happen to judge one of their competitions, and they were 3 businesses by Muslim women, and the Muslim women were out there speaking for themselves, talking about their business ideas, and talking about how far into production and service they had gotten into. So this idea that Muslim women are not allowed to be out in community and society and be independent individuals is completely untrue.
Dr. Sheikh, final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Yes, I wanted to just congratulate you. And I mean, I think that having that call on was really, really eye-opening. And really, I think you modeled very well how to question some of these assumptions out there that are just untrue.
I appreciate you both making time for the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Dave, can you handle those lines? And this comment is not about that call that we just had or the call we had last week, but I think it's human nature. When I don't understand something, then it's kind of natural to have negative thoughts about it. And I think that's across the gamut. When I say things like information is power and information is king, to have an understanding of what's going on with whether it be people from different countries or people of different faith or different sexual orientation, whatever that is, when we don't understand stuff, we tend to get our back up and think negative things about it before we take that first step to maybe just having a better or at least a base understanding of what's going on, where people are coming from. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're talking e-bikes, the seal fishery, whatever you want to talk about. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Lloyd. You're on the air.
Hey, Patty.
Hi there.
I won't take up much of your time, Patty, because there's a lot of stuff going on in our province that needs attention. But I want to talk about e-bikes briefly.
Sure.
I noticed I'm an owner of an e-bike now. I've had an e-bike for 2 years. I know a couple of times this summer, like motorists, they don't really realize that when they see them coming, they see a pedal bike, but they don't see the speed that they're coming at, right? And the motorists after on and making a left turn in front of me a couple of times this summer. I just want to make motorists and parents aware of the power of these bikes and the speed that they can go.
I see them in action, and even some of those electric scooters are wicked quick. They really are.
Yes.
When I see people who are operating those machines, not wearing a helmet, for instance, it kind of jumps off the page at me like, ugh, maybe you should have a helmet on. In addition to that, when we talk about the speed that an e-bike can travel, do you think as an e-bike owner that, we're all sharing the roads, do you think that there should be some sort of training or license or insurance associated with these vehicles that can go pretty much as quick as a lot of cars when we're talking about in residential areas?
Yes, Patty, there should be some kind of a program making people aware of what these bikes can do, eh? And what I'm seeing is, like you just mentioned, these scooters for kids. A lot of them I've seen this summer around our town. And most of the kids, they're not wearing no helmets, no reflective vests, nothing for safety, right? And when you're going 30 kilometers an hour and you comes off one of them scooters or a bike, you could seriously get hurt.
Absolutely you can. I mean, isn't it mandatory, at least here in the city, to wear a helmet if you're riding a pedal bike?
I'm not sure if it's mandatory, Patty, but for me, I wear my helmet and my reflective vest faithfully, right?
Yep.
Because I'm aware that the speed that I'm going, and they can't stop on a dime, and motors just off, pull in front of you across the road, and you could get hurt bad, right?
Yeah, and we've actually looked at some numbers about some of these e-bikes, e-scooters, and the type of injuries that we're seeing. The one story that I found was from Ontario, but you have to imagine it translates pretty directly to here. I just had a quick look here. It's a provincial law to wear a helmet if you're riding a pedal bike. But apparently we're not applying that to e-bikes or e-scooters, which is strange.
Yeah, it is strange, and you should be wearing it. Like, you can't stress it enough, for safety. I mean, you hit your head when you comes off one of these bikes, you're going to have damage, right?
No question, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, so I just want to make the people aware, and motors aware of that, and parents, that, these are fast bikes and they could cause serious injury.
And we talk about things like loud pipes save lives, even though the physics doesn't really back that up. You have a chance to hear a motorcycle coming, but you have zero chance to hear an e-bike coming. So that's that whole just be aware of your surroundings. The old shoulder check before you turn, shoulder check before you change lanes. It's just probably a pretty good idea. Who wants to be responsible for being at the scene of an incident or a collision where your vehicle and an e-bike met, and there's only going to be one winner there?
Yeah, exactly. So that's just the point I want to get out there, Paddy.
I'm glad you did. Thanks for the call, Lloyd.
No problem.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye. Yeah, look, I have no problem with these scooters. They actually look like a bit of fun, I have to say. And if you're just beating around or bombing around the one part of the city, whether it be to and from work or to see your buddies or whatever the case may be, a pretty cost-effective mode of transportation, I would think. So they look pretty fun. And there's some stats out there too about just how much more time you spend on your bike if you have an e-bike. And of course it doesn't take all of the horsepower required by your own legs and lungs to make the e-bike go, but it's pretty interesting. I think the story that I saw was people spend somewhere in excess of 60% more time on their bike when they have an e-bike, and there's lots of value can come from that. I'm not going to squeeze in the call because we're right up against news, but we're going to check in on the Twitter box. We're VOCM Open Line. You can follow us there. Being asked why we're not talking about trade anymore, interprovincial or international trade. Happy to do exactly that. We're taking your emails. It's openline@vocm.com. When we come back, Pat's in the queue. Appreciate your patience. Patty wants to talk about the seal fishery, and Jackie wants to talk about the Perry's Cove wildfire. I think Perry's Cove is one of the communities that has an evacuation order in place. Those two, then you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Say good morning to the Mayor of Paradise. That's Dan Bobbitt. Mayor Bobbitt, you're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Daly. How are you doing?
Doing okay. How about you?
We're good. Right now, I guess we're under emergency preparedness notice, and that was issued yesterday evening around 7:30 p.m. That's Monday, August 11th. And the affected area, I want to get this out there, the affected area is the south side of Topsail Road from the Outer Ring Road exit to CBS boundary. And the full list of streets is available on our website at paradise.ca/emergency alerts.
I would imagine for the Paradise residents, that would be the best hub of information as opposed to the government website. What do you think?
Government is an official website as well. You want to monitor those, look for updates there. We're in constant, communication. Our staff is. We've, town staff activated our emergency response plan, and town officials are, working with, obviously, the provincial government and following their guidance and lead as well. So the two, are intertwined. Our EOC and their EOC is, obviously in constant communication. So another way that we do have is for our resident notification system. You can sign up, so then you can get the notifications come directly to your personal devices. So if you go onto our website, there's a section there to sign up for our resident notification system, and this would be, emergencies like this is crucial.
So what are we seeing? What's the status this morning? Insofar as how far the fire has moved and the air quality and those types of things.
Yeah, the air quality stuff was just on your line there. Then I just heard some updates from environment and whatever else, and the province obviously is giving the current updates. Right now is pretty much where we were to last night when we issued the emergency preparedness notice, and we're just telling residents that be prepared. It's crucial to be prepared to move if you get notifications.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said the same thing to Mayor Bent, is neither you nor Mayor Bent or myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but, we're just trying to share the information. I do get some pushback from emails in particular saying, can we stop talking about all the fear? I'm not saying that anyone should be fearful. What we need to be is aware. I mean, the fire doesn't care about anybody's personal level of fear or anxiety. The fact of the matter is, these alerts are out there for a reason, and just some helpful information about things that you should consider to prepare for a go bag if and when that alert becomes an order. That's all.
Absolutely, it's be prepared. I mean, it's crucial to be prepared, right? So things like if you get an evacuation notice, it's not right now. We're just under emergency preparedness notice. But if one was to come, you need to be prepared, and that's what we're telling all the residents in the affected area. And again, I'll repeat it one more time. The affected area is the south side of Topsail Road, from the Outer Ring road exit to the CBS boundary. So, and that's all on our websites. All the streets are there as well. And, we could understand that there's, a certain amount of unsettledness and anxiety associated with this. But, we have the emergency response plan, and that's in place and enacted. And, town staff have been monitoring that, or been part of that EOC all night, and they're monitoring the situation, and they're in constant contact with the provincial government's EOC as well. So, and we have 1,740 homes in the affected area, but 4,500 residents.
What services does the municipality offer when and if people are living under an alert or eventually an order?
Well, the services, I guess, part of the emergency response plan is that we all work together, the province and our response team and any volunteers, the Red Cross. It's a team effort. So when a notice comes, or when an evacuation notice may come, then you'll get, it depends on the severity of it, and you'll get notification at that time what you need to do, who you need to contact, and what to have. So, just be prepared. Have those things, in your kit bag, whether medications and valuables if you want to take them with you, or documents. Just have all that prepared at a moment's notice.
And just a little tidbit of advice that was also offered by Mayor Bent is, even if you're living in a community that's currently just under evacuation alert versus order, you still have to realize that if you're going to work today, or you're going to watch some of the Canada Summer Games, or whatever the case may be, if the alert becomes an order, you can't get back in. So if you're going to work today and you live in an alert area, just bring your go bag with you to work. Leave it in your vehicle, because you can't go back in. So people sometimes probably don't consider that when they leave, because their lives go on. People got to go to work. People got to do whatever else is on their agenda or scheduled for the day. But if you live in an alert area, bring your stuff whenever you leave.
Yeah, that depends on the severity at the time. So that's the thing. So you could do that, and you'll be extra preparedness and have it with you. But I mean, depends on the severity of the alert when and if it's issued. But right now, it's just an emergency preparedness notice, and so we want to make people aware, like you said, aware, and obviously we understand a lot of possible anxiety and unsettledness about this, but we're prepared. We got our emergency response plan in place, and like I said, we're in constant communication with the provincial government, and any alerts, people will be updated. But it's key, that resident notification system we have, that'll come directly to your personal device if you sign up. Any resident of Paradise sign up for it. Not only this type of emergency, but any emergencies that may be, in future or whatever, you'll get direct notifications to your personal devices.
Appreciate the time, Mayor Bobbitt. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Stan Bobbitt, the Mayor of Paradise. Let's keep going. Line number 4. Pat, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks for asking. How about you?
Listen, they come in here, and they close the seal fishery. Now they're coming in. They're going to close the lobsters. They're going to close the mackerel. And it's time for the union to jump on board.
So why are they closing the lobster and the mackerel? I mean, I know that... Sorry, go ahead.
There's too many lobsters around, and people are catching too many lobsters. Lobsters are numerous, never known before.
I know people are doing very well in the lobster fishery, and we know mackerel has been now back to a bait fishery only, as opposed to once commercial fishery, even though we handle it so much differently than the Americans, and it's a straddle stock, so the mackerel one confuses me.
That's right, and when the foreigners comes in and closes down the mackerel, they close down the fishery, they close down everything. and the partners will do it to you.
So what role does a foreign fishing fleet have on this? Because DFO has shut down the commercial mackerel fishery. DFO controls the seal harvest numbers. And
DFO controls our fishery.
Yeah.
They controls everything. They give us the days to go out now during the year, the 60 days or whatever to catch our bit of fish. We could go out one time and take a fish, and we wanted for the frying pan. It's 365 days a year. But now you got a time limit when you can go, when you can come. And gas is $50 a tank. And where do you get them? They're making the money, not us.
I understand. The recreational food fishery dates, and that's this year, same as last year, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 39 days, a summer season and a very short fall season. Anything else you want to say this morning, Pat?
Fisheries got all to do with it because they're running us. When the moratorium come on, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then when they got a hold by it, they jumped aboard. They said, listen, we're going to tell you when to go and when to come.
Yep. That's about the size of it.
That's it. Okay.
Appreciate the time, Pat. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. And insofar as the recreational food fishery, look, I think it's completely legitimate to ask why we're not treated the same as other Atlantic Canadian provinces. And yes, the stock status in different areas is different in this province. We understand that to be true. But at the exact same time, when they more than doubled the commercial total allowable catch, but not one iota of change for me and you who'd like to go out on boat and get a few cod, if you're able to and the weather is conducive on a Saturday, Sunday or Monday. So yeah, I think people ask justifiable questions there. Let's take a break. Jackie, you're in the queue. We'll talk about Perry's Cove and the wildfires right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 6. Good morning, Jackie. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome.
And I was reluctant to do so, but I felt compelled because of the situation of the fire on the North Shore.
Okay.
And while I was waiting to come online, your news update was on, and it was all about the Paddy's Pond situation. There was absolutely no mention of what was happening in Conception Bay North, which is an insult to the people in our area. And I know you can't cover everything, but we have been at this now for 10 days, and enough is enough.
I can't speak for how or who covers what in the newsroom. I really don't know. But I know the Kingston fire that we're talking about is the biggest one. I mean, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,200 hectares.
Yes. And our local firefighters, they're all volunteers. Excuse me. This is day 10 for them. And that's, and they've had support come from everywhere. And now that support is being pulled to go to Paddy's Pond. Not only ground crews, but air support as well. The not knowing, the lack of information is killing us.
What type of information specifically are you looking for, Jackie? Because I'll try to get it for you.
Well, any information would be good. Like, we don't even know when the water bombers are coming back. We don't know when all of this support that's supposed to be coming from our national friends is supposed to arrive. What is being done? We're hearing, and through social media, that many of our communities are decimated. We don't know. That has not been confirmed. And again, this is no reflection on our volunteer firefighters. God only knows that they are working round the clock, away from their jobs, away from their homes, trying to save our structures, trying to save our homes. There is a public meeting today at Persalvic at 11 for North Shore residents. That's from Perry's Cove down. Not sure how far it includes or what communities are included. But everyone should show up. I tried to send a politician a message and can't accept messages at this time. And then our premier on the update said, what's going on in Conception Bay North is unfortunate. No, it is not unfortunate. It is devastating.
Absolutely. I do think I heard one of the fire duty managers talk about the fact that they're having a hard time estimating the damage to infrastructure or homes lost in that particular fire just because of the smoke. So I'll continue to try to get you some information. So we do know that there was 2 water bombers scheduled to come from Quebec, and there's a maintenance issue, but we're expecting them this week. Then we're talking about 2 from Ontario. They are going to remain in Ontario to fight wildfires there. So are any of the helicopters, of which there were 5, and 2 Coast Guard helicopters, helicopters, 50 ground crew members fighting the Kingston Fire. So are you telling me all the resources have left the area?
No, I am not saying that because I don't know that, and I don't want to say anything that is inaccurate. I do know that on site last night there were 2 helicopters. That's all I know. I wouldn't know anything about ground crews, specifically. But like, this is day 8 of evacuation for me personally. It's day 9 for my son and his family, and we don't even know what's standing. And I'm sure everybody on the North Shore, like for us, some communities rather, did have an alert, so they may have had several days to prepare. We didn't. And, people are fed up, they're frustrated, and they just want answers.
We'll try to get some answers, whether it be to Holy Road or Martin Lake, Labrador, the Kingston Fire and how it's impacted Oakropit Cove and Perry's Cove. We'll try to get as much information as soon as we possibly can, whether that be resources, whether or not the fire is moving, all those types of details that we can get answers to. We'll try to do it this morning.
I very much appreciate it. I'm not trying to speak for anybody else, but I know I'm not alone in looking for answers and looking for help. Because right now we just need help to save what can be saved.
No doubt about it. I completely understand where you're coming from, Jackie. Myself and Dave will try to get the appropriate guest on to give us an update as soon as possible.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Sorry to take so much of your time.
It is not a problem at all. I wish you and the folks out in Perry's Cove and surrounding areas the very best outcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take care, Jackie.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, so someone working at Fire and Emergency Services who has this program on as they go about their day. If we can't, can we get some updated specifics on particularly the Kingston Fire, knowing just how big it is? They're all important. They're all impacting some communities, whether it be Martin's Lake or Paddy's Pond or up on Labrador or wherever, and the Kingston Fire. Let's see if we can't get some updated details for the folks who are obviously and justifiably worried. Dave, where am I going here? I haven't paid much attention to the board. Okay, let's keep going and go to Shane Skinner on 1. Good morning, Shane. You're on the air.
Morning, Patty. How are you?
Doing okay. How about you?
Doing great, thanks. Patty, just wanted to call in to let some of the listeners across the province know about an exciting fundraiser happening at the Canada Games over the next couple of weeks. So I am with the Impact YYT Foundation, a nonprofit here in the province focused on supporting youth health and wellness initiatives. And we've teamed up with the 2025 Canada Games and with Sport NL to offer a online 50-50 fundraiser across the province to make sure that it's inclusive even to those who may not be able to make it into the Canada Games. So the 50-50, Patty, it's currently running. We've got $1,000 early bird prizes. We've got 4 separate $1,000 cash draws that we're doing as early birds over the next 10 days. The first early bird is going to be drawn actually tonight at 9:30 p.m. So if people want to enter into that, they need to get their tickets in the next 10 hours or so. But yeah, I just wanted to call in and let people know that there's an exciting fundraiser going on that's going to support the youth across the province and help access health and wellness programs while decreasing a lot of the financial barriers that come along with sport, especially.
Are there any specific areas earmarked for whatever revenues is raised during this 50-50?
So all the net revenue or net profit is going to be donated to Sport NL, Patty.
Okay.
And it's basically going to be used towards the Canada Games Legacy Fund. So that'll be allocated appropriately by Sport NL once they have a final figure on the total fund, to the total Canada Games Legacy Fund.
Because there's a lot of issues concerning access. We cannot find ourselves in a place where only the folks with the financial resources get an equal shot at playing. I mean, it's long been a barrier. And how many young people today who probably have the skill and the talent and the drive just didn't have the money to participate in the Canada Games turn? Consequently, they're spectators, not participants.
It's so true, Betty. It's the equipment, it's the registration cost, it's the travel cost on the island, in Labrador, out of province. The financial barrier is real, especially the last number of years as disposable income has become a little bit tighter for some families across the province. So, us at Impact YYT, we're proud to be supporting this type of fundraiser and delivering this type of fundraiser along with the Canada Games and Sport NL. And, hopefully we can make this not just a big success, but a huge success for all the young athletes across Newfoundland and Labrador.
Are volunteers selling these tickets at the various venues, or is it all online?
It's all online, Patty. There, as I'm sure people know, there's a lot of different activities on the go at each of the sport venues. So it is all being done online. And if people are interested in purchasing, they can visit 5050.live. So that's 5050.live. And they'll see the 50/50 there. It's called the Game On 50/50. They can go in, purchase their tickets. There's a number of different ticket packages that people can choose from. The only thing that I would caution people of is that you must be physically present in Newfoundland and Labrador when you purchase your ticket and also to claim your prize, Patty. So I know there are some folks who are visiting for the Canada Games. Just important that they know that they must be in the province to purchase a ticket and then to claim the prize if they are the lucky winner.
Fair enough. Good luck with it. I'll be curious to see what a dollar amount would be. I would imagine this has been part of the Canada Games in various cities, the host cities in the past. Do we have any idea what kind of monies they've been able to raise through these types of efforts?
Yeah, I truthfully, Patty, from what I understand, I don't believe that there has been any official 50/50 that's been conducted with the Canada Games over the last number of years, or the last number of Canada Games. We actually ran a bit of a trial run last month in July, and we ended up raising, the total amount raised was just over $26,000. So there was a lucky winner who walked away with over $13,000 last week when we drew on Friday. So we're hoping over the next 14 days, I guess, 12 days now, we're hoping that we can certainly pass that, and we've set the goal of $100,000. So we're trying to inch towards that, and any and all support is appreciated. And like I mentioned, we've got 4 $1,000 early bird cash draws, and then we've got the big 50/50 grand prize draw as well.
Appreciate the time. Good luck with it, Shane.
Thank you, Patty. Have a good day.
The very
Bye-bye.
same to you. Bye-bye. All right, I'm not sure what's next, but we'll find out right after this. Just a couple of quick comments. So I'm being told in some corners that, resources are being diverted because of it's more important to protect big communities like Paradise, CBS, St. John's, Mount Pearl than it is other parts of the province. It's hard to imagine that's actually a thing. And let's hope this doesn't become an us versus them, because it's already bad enough. So let's see if we can't avoid that at all costs. And yes, people are being asked to try to get their information from verifiable, accurate sources. So whether it be the towns themselves or the provincial government or Fire and Emergency Services or the Department of Justice or whatever the case may be, because I do see a lot of stuff out there that very quickly you can figure out that it is absolutely patently incorrect. So that. Also, we're going to try to get someone on to break down an evacuation order for us. So far as what happens if and when it's moves from alert to order, and we know that for the most part you can't get back into your community to get whatever you want. So someone made an interesting point regarding pets. So you're gone to work, and the puppy's at home, or the cat's at home, or the budgie bird, or whatever it is, and you can't get back in to retrieve it. I guess that's where we all have to have that sense of neighborhood and being prepared insofar as, like, it's a good point, and I hadn't really thought of it. So, for instance, if I'm at work and I'm living in Paradise and I'm working in St. John's, it's probably a very good idea for a neighbour to have a key so that he or she can do whatever you need if you can't get back into the community. So just some of those things, we're going to try to get some more information for people ASAP. Let's go to line 3. Terry, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning.
Patty, what I'm calling about is not directly related to the existing fires, but something to do with helping to prevent future fires, okay? And so before I get on to that, I, like all Newfoundlanders now, we're all praying for those people on the Beatty Bird Peninsula, and also for the people that live within reach of the Paddy's Pond fire. And the other fires are not near populated centers, not yet anyway, like the one on the Bay Spear Highway. I'm not saying is not important now, still a serious fire. But anyway, last night on the Beaver Peninsula, and it's happened in other areas around the province too in the last 3 or 4 days, there was a fire lit intentionally on the side of the highway, on the Bayvert Highway, by some lunatic or lunatics. And a driver by discovered it after dark last night, and he extinguished it somehow. I haven't spoke to the individual yet how he did it, whether he stamped it out with his feet or if he had a fire extinguisher aboard. He may have, because he's a guy got a driveway sealant business. So, but it brought to mind for me a point for the general public. We all know how tender dry this entire province is now, and we know that it only takes one spark to create a very, very serious fire. And we know we got some lunatics around. Thank God they're a very small minority, but it only takes a small minority to destroy a province. And if the general public would just take, whenever they go on the highway, a couple of 5-gallon buckets with covers on them filled full of water, put them in the back of their SUV. If they're in a pickup truck, put them in the dump. If they're in a car, you can even put them on the floor between the front seat and the back seat. A couple of, 3.5, 4 or 5 gallon buckets full of water, a fire extinguisher if they can spare one from their kitchen in their home. And if they should happen upon one of these lunatic fires like this guy did last night on the Bayvert Highway, they could prevent a catastrophe. And it's a very simple thing to do. A couple of 5-gallon buckets of water. It might sound stupid with anybody listening. What are you going to do with 2 5-gallon buckets of water? Well, if you comes up on a campfire that was just lit intentionally, 2 5-gallon buckets of water could probably put it out. But it's hard to put it out when it becomes 200 and 300 or 500 hectares.
Well, once it gets to even Guy Fawkes night size, no one's going to be able to put it out with their own buckets of water or whatever the case may be. But like we heard a story here in the city of St. John's just yesterday, is that this person was, a football field away from someone. They're walking down the sidewalk. The person in front had a smoke, threw it on the easement, which of course is grass between the sidewalk and the curb and the road. And by the time that person got to it, it was on fire. So I suppose even just a water bottle could probably, stop that particular blaze. But I'd also say that people should be extremely mindful of risking life and limb as well. So I understand where you're coming from. And if you can get to something that can actually be doused by a 5-gallon bucket, it's certainly better than that becoming a 5,200 hectare fire. Fair enough.
Yes, I mean, this fire that this guy came across last night, and I was talking to him this morning, but I didn't mention that. He's a driveway sealant person coming down to my driveway, and we'll see. But, it was just a little fire, like you'd light out in your backyard to roast some wieners or marshmallows on. So a 5-gallon bucket of water can put that out quite easily. You try to stomp it out with your boots, you might catch your boot on fire or burn your foot.
Sure.
And it's a very simple thing for the general public to do. Why I'm going to Grand Falls now for a doctor's appointment, or I'm leaving Fortune on the Bayvert on the Burin Peninsula, and I got a doctor's appointment at Oil Sciences in St. John's. Fill up a couple of 5-gallon buckets of water and or a fire extinguisher out of your kitchen or somewhere. It could save a forest fire, because these lunatics are out there. We're not going to get rid of them. It's useless as you know what on a nun for the government to find those people. Some of them you can put fines at $1 million if you want to. They're just going to laugh at it. They're not going to pay it anyway. And if you put them in jail, they say, "Whoa, perfect! Now I got free Mary Brown's chicken for a month." Put me in jail, so the taxpayer is going to pay for the Mary Brown's chicken. So it's a joke. The justice system cannot deal with this problem. The public got to deal with it.
For people who are still. And I've gotten emails saying the government can kiss my you-know-what. If I feel like having a fire, I'm going to have a fire. I mean, it's just the level of stupidity that I just can't understand. Look, it's not a whole lot to ask for someone to simply not light a fire. I mean, I get some of the inconveniences and some of the restrictions in other parts of the country, but here it's basically just people being asked to don't start a fire because of the obvious risk.
Yes, and then to show how stupid they are and how brain dead they are, they'll get on and say, this is just government trying to get control. My Jesus, boy. A fellow in Nova Scotia I sold shrimp to a few years ago said to me, he said, "Terry," he said, some people are become idiots after they're born, but some people are born as idiots. And this is what we got in 1% of our Newfoundland population now, or half of 1%. But they're there, and you ain't going to get them to change their idiotic behavior. So as a precaution, if the general public, who are not idiots, thank God, do that simple thing, because that guy came up on that fire last night on the Beaver Highway. He saved a major fire on the Beaver Peninsula. The Beaver Peninsula is heavily forested, and the Beaver Peninsula is bone dry, just like the Beatty Verde Peninsula is, and like all of the Highland of Newfoundland is, and maybe most of Labrador too. And there's a fire lit over on the Hampton Road the other day in a pit. You probably heard about that one. They discovered them out in Corner Brook. You know, you mentioned to me this now in St. John's. It's province-wide. There's a few idiots going around for whatever sick reason and lighting these fires nighttime, and with the hope nobody's going to discover it in time, it's going to become a major forest fire. You know.
Terry, I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Patty, for your time.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And, you know, just quick comment on forest management, for instance. So, look, there is no such thing as a manageable forest management plan for 370 million hectares of Canadian forests. But when we talk about specifics, insofar as wherever, and I guess just based on population and industry, we have to have some sort of plan. I'm not suggesting that every square inch of the boreal forest in this province can be dealt with in a pragmatic fashion every single summer or every single spring. No, I don't think that at all. But a forest management plan is still pretty key. So whether that be federal guidance inside federal national parks and the like, and that's one thing. But all I'm really asking is, and again, I'll just reiterate, you cannot have a manageable forest management plan for 370 million hectares of boreal forest in Canada. It just doesn't even make sense. But biting off a piece year over year to try to ensure that the risks be mitigated as best possible. You can never eliminate risk on this front, but it's the opportunity or the possibility of mitigating the risk by logical forest management plans. That's all. I'm not going to say that every piece of the forest can be absolutely fireproof, because that's not a thing. All right, here, let's see if we can take a break on time. When we come back, we'll talk about the Brigus Sea cadets, then with people who are indeed frazzled. And there's lots of it out there, and I understand why. We're going to talk to some of the supports offered by LifeWise and Warmline. The executive director is Brad Glynn. He's in the queue, and then we're speaking with you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Gerald. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning?
Not too bad at all. How about you?
Not bad, sir. Not bad at all. My name is Jerome Mercer. I'm calling from the Brigus area. This is my second time calling, and the last time I called was about 35 years ago, I guess, when the PC government was in power at the time, they decided to close all the schools out and move all the students to Bay Roberts. Well, I guess the federal government now decided to move all the sea cadet corps out of Newfoundland and start closing them out. I've put 45 years in the sea cadet movement, excuse me, as an officer. But now all of a sudden, I guess I got them out since 23. So now all of a sudden now the cadet numbers are down. There's not so many people involved in the cadet program now. Now they're deciding that 249 FEM Morse, who exists for 50 years, is not going to be no longer a sea cadet corps after this year. They're going to take the corps and amalgamate them with the Army cadets in Bay Roberts. They had a meeting sometime in May, and they came out and told the officers and the sponsor, the Legion and Brigus, that the corps is going to be I guess they're going to amalgamate them with the Army cadets. And in the next 4 years, there's 4 cadets left. After 4 years, the corps is gone. And I looked at the person in charge. I said, the problem is you guys. You guys have got the program chopped that much since I've started in 1975 as a cadet. Then in 78 as an officer, there's no more interest. The programs you got taken out of the program for these young people to go in the summertime, it's not there no more. And all they want to do now is save dollars and chop. So here we are in Brigus now, another youth organization that's going to be closing its doors in the next little bit. And I'm very impressed. We try to get some answers from the big guys up in Ottawa and St. John's. It seems like because the catchment basin for the cadet program or the schools are all in Bay Roberts, we haven't got enough young people in Brigus involved to keep the corps going. And I know that people in Brigas and around here, a lot of young people went through this program, whether they went for doctors or lawyers. Don't know this, but looks like FBM Mercy's on the chopping block. And here we are now, the September 13th. We've got the FBM Mercy coming back to her native home, and looks like we might even have a Sea Cadet Corps call FBM Mercy to board that vessel and view it. So I think it's a disgrace, and I think it's time for the federal government people I see Prime Minister Carney was out in BC last week on HMCS Quadra looking at the Sea Cadets out there. He said it was a marvelous thing. I think he should come to Newfoundland and see what these people in St. John's are doing with closing up all these Sea Cadet Corps, and not only Sea Cadets, but Army Cadet Corps. I've heard of one now that was a Cadet Corps down in St. Albans, had 29 cadets and one officer. And they went down last year and said, no, you haven't got enough staff. We're closing you down. So here we are. All rural Newfoundland has got me hit again, and we got to get all these young people to go to the big areas to survive. And I think it's a disgrace, sir.
Just for my understanding, Gerald, what exactly is being done that leads to these cadet corps being disbanded? Is there something specific?
What they're saying, sir, the enrollment is down. We all know the enrollment is down everywhere. But, they had a full-fledged officer, had 5 officers here, doing their best to try to recruit young people in. But their hands are tied. Like for instance, when I was at the CO of the Corps, we want to do an activity. I'd call St. John's and say to the boys, we just got an activity coming up for next week. Can we get approval on it? Not a problem. Send the paperwork in. And now they've got at least a month or 16 days to get approval for a cadet corps to do any activity. They went in the woods last year, sir. I showed them where a nice trail was at, to take them in the woods for the day and do some hiking that. And when they came back, I said to the CO, you're going to show them how to build a lean-to and a fire in the woods. It was in the winter time. And I said, that's something that these young people probably never did before. And build a fire, boil a kettle. I was told by the CO, we're not allowed to do it. I said, what? You're not allowed to do it. So what are you going to feed them? We're going to bring them back to the lease and feed them Mary Brown chicken.
Yeah. So, again, I've never been a member of the cadets, so I'm coming from a position of ignorance. You need permission from someone to take a cadet corps in the woods and to teach them how to build a lean-to?
The Department of National Defense got people involved running the cadet program, not a clue what the program is all about, and they're chop. I'll give an instance now. Years ago, they had a cookery course, a medic course, OPSCON course, submariner course. They have band there now, and they got seamanship, they got range, and that. But here we were. They're wondering why they can't get no young people to join the armed forces, sir. That's the reason why none of these young people. Look, a lot of people said years ago, well, you're going to join the cadet program, you're going to join the forces. No, that's not what it's meant to be. But there's no enticement for these young people to join this program no more. There's nothing there for them. Who wants to go to a cadet the Tuesday night and all you just do classroom work, a little bit of this and that? But yes, sir, to get permission, the upper guys said, there's a big responsibility. We want all the details and all this and all that. And it takes 30 days or 60 days to get approval to do anything. It's disgusting.
It sounds bizarre. Just consider, for instance, if you were going to join the Boy Scouts, the association has a bunch of activities that they do, whether it be to earn a badge or whatever it is. You don't have to go to the national body to say, can we go and learn how to build a lean-to? There's all a bunch of things that they do, and they just do them. Right. I'm surprised it's not a thing with the cadet course.
Well, it was, sir. It was, but they're have to chop. These figures, they're going to chop so much out of the program, but they got these people on the hill that don't know what they're doing. They don't listen to, I got 45 years in the cadet program. I've been in England. I've been to BC. My brother was the same way. He's still in the program. He's still going to give up because he's sick of it. The stuff they're doing, they're destroying the program. Like in Newfoundland, it was 30-something Sea Cadet Corps. 33. They ain't 33 there now, sir. I can remember back when we had Operation Bigfoot a few years ago, back on the Bjorn Peninsula. There was 31 Sea Cadet Corps from Newfoundland, went down to the Bjorn Peninsula for the whole weekend, did all different activities. And now, if you have Morsy's going on the chopping block, 32 Biotic went 2 years ago. They came out, they said, we're moving you to the Air Cadets and Carbineer. Before that year was out, they said, you're finished. And so, here's rural Newfoundland talking about getting destroyed, here's the federal government. They're cutting out all these programs for these young people and make the Corps turn them down, which is disgusting. This is the second Corps we're after losing in Brigus. We have a Naval Corps that was a little younger ones from 9 to 11. We couldn't get enough staff in that because no one wanted to get involved because the regulations changed from Ottawa under the Naval League side of it, and they got out. And now the Sea Cadets are on the chopping block. And like I said, I put 45 years in the program.
It all sounds so unnecessary. I mean, the various levels of bureaucracy to do fundamental things. Like, why do people think some youngster, or pardon me, some youth would join things like the Sea Cadets? Is to have a few adventures.
That's right, sir.
Yeah.
That's right. It's good. When I was in, like I said, 2023, I aged out. I was 65. I had to get out. I enjoyed it. I was disappointed I had to get out. And to see what's going on with the program now is totally disgusting. Like, the Sea Cadet Day Parade of Our Legion race. All right, when we have a parade, they got to go to hell to get a permission to go on parade with us, which is crap. I never heard of the like. We have a Battle Atlantic this year past. We had a Battle Atlantic parade. We have it in Spanish Bay. Mostly is a Sea Cadet parade, is a Navy parade. We had the Corps from Brigus here. We had what Corps the cadets they had? They only had 9 cadets. We had the Corps from Great Eastern over in Trinity Bay there, and the Army cadets. But here we are, the athletes down the road in Harbour Grace, number 32 in Canada, closed up. They said they couldn't get the staff and all that, but they never. These guys in the sound sitting down on their arse, getting paid 365 days a year, are not getting out in the Corps and help them. They'll give you all kinds of advice that they don't even know is going to work or not, but they're not getting their hands with, sir. And now we're coming to Brigus, and they're doing the same thing. And like I said, I'm totally disgusted. These people going around with the big ranks on their shoulder, gone right to their head, sir. And I'm very disappointed. But no one's saying nothing about it in Brigus. They came out, sir. He came out. The guy in charge in St. John, I don't say no names, and he had a meeting with them. He said, "I'll talk to the town, to the mayor." It took him a full month to get to the mayor and tell the mayor that he was closing FEM Morrissey. And then it took him 3 weeks after to have a meeting with the parents. And never even call the sponsor and tell the sponsor that he was having a meeting with the parents. So you talk about discussing stuff under the table, sir. This is what's going on in the cadet program. It's not only in Brigus. There's other places too.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm a little bit confused with the levels of bureaucracy that a cadet brigade would have to go through to simply do the most fundamental activities in the outdoors. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you, Gerald.
Well, the regulations that they're have to put in place, sir, is so bureaucracy. Like I said, it takes 30 days to get a. When I know some of the other guys, when I was CO, we have an activity with cadets can come up. I know you make a schedule up. We all make schedules up, but an activity can come up, and then all of a sudden, what are you going to do? Say, no, I can't go. So the guys are in there, they're flexible. As long as you got the paperwork, is approved by those, we can go. But now, 30 days. Come on, boys. Let's get in the game.
Or maybe we just give approvals that would last for eternity. Can we go into the woods and learn how to build a lean-to? The answer is yes, and you can do it again next summer and the year after that as well.
That's right, sir. That's right.
Gerald, I got to get to the news break, but I appreciate your time this morning.
All right, thank you very much. I hope some more people will listen to this for you and say, look, it's time for us to start rattling the ball here.
Fair enough, and they're welcome to call the program. Good talking to you, Gerald. Stay in touch.
You have a good day. Bye.
You too, pal. Bye-bye. All right, let's get a break for the news. Brad, you're next to talk about the LifeWise Warm Line services for folks who maybe just need a little bit of de-stressing during some of these times. And then we're going to speak with Paul Dinn, who's the member for Topsail Paradise. Grace has a question about fighting fires. We'll hear from those three and then you after this.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 4. Say good morning to the Executive Director at LifeWise Warm Line. That's Brad Glynn. Good morning, Brad. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having me today.
Happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm just calling in, Patty. Obviously, as we deal with fires throughout the province, outside of the physical health strain and the worry people have, obviously, you've seen the government put out lots of information about mental health supports available to folks. And they put out our warm line number and our first responder warm line number, but I just wanted to call in and just give those numbers out to your audience and just let people know that our service is there for people who avail of.
We hear from government officials all the time about utilizing LifeWise and Warmline, but I bet you some people don't know exactly what kind of support and services you offer. Walk us through some.
Absolutely. So, Patty, we're an entirely lived experience organization. So we've got about 60 staff from here to Happy Valley Goose Bay all throughout the province. And having lived experience means we have our own experience with mental health issues, mental illness, addiction, substance use issues. And the peer support that's offered on the warm line or on the first responder warm line is a non-clinical mental health support. So what you can expect if you call the warm line is to have someone really actively listen to you, talk about what you're going through, your immediate fears, worries, stresses, frustrations, lots of things we've heard on your show over the past few days. And then that person's going to be able to use their own story and their own experience to support you in figuring out solutions for yourself, to support you in reframing things in a way that's helpful, to support you in choosing what resources, both formal and informal, you might use to better your situation, to lower your anxiety, to seek out tangible help, whether that's with housing, food insecurity, and issues like the current fires, where to go and seek support. So it's really an asset for people. It's meant to be a low-level support, but it's meant to be very solution-focused, very much about the now. And the most important part is, again, you're speaking to folks who get it, who've been there and understand it. We take about 1,100, 1,150 calls on our warm line a month. If you call in 811, you can also get redirected to us through 811, and lots of times an 811 operator will suggest that to someone if they feel that's the type of support they need. And our first responders warm line is a more dedicated service, so it's individuals with lived experience, but they are also people who've worked in first responder fields, so that if you're someone who's working one of these fires right now, if you're a paramedic who's been impacted by, or even if you're just someone who's anticipating it, you can call and you're going to speak to someone who both understands your mental health concerns, but also the professional pressures you're feeling, what it's like when you bring that home, what it's like at the end of a shift, what it's like the anxiety going in. So that's just kind of a quick explanation of both of those services, Patty.
Who am I speaking with when I call the warm line?
Again, we've got about 10 to 15 staff who operate the warm line. They're Newfoundlanders and Labradorians stationed all across the province. Our staff are able to work from anywhere, so we've got staff on the Avalon Peninsula, we've got staff in CBM, we've got staff in Central, we've got staff stationed in the western part of the province, and we've got staff stationed in the Lab Grenfell Health region as well. So you could get anyone. We've got staff as young as 22 and 23, and we've got staff who are in their 60s. So you're really going to be a cross-section of the population. Most of those folks also have a very diverse professional and personal experiences. So you're going to get someone who, is a true Newfoundlander and Labradorian who really gets what you're going through.
So would these be people who are social workers or therapists or counselors? Just get an understanding about who I might be speaking with.
Absolutely. So they're peer support workers. So we have the peer support training that folks go through, and it takes about 18 months to become a certified peer supporter with LifeWise. And what that training does is it trains them in active listening, in strong questioning, in recovery-oriented principles, in person-centered care. Some of our staff have experience as social workers or have been social workers. We've got staff who've worked in communications fields. We've got staff who've worked in other healthcare professions. We've got staff who've worked as security guards. We've got staff from a huge range of fields. But what makes them common to us is both their lived experience they brought into the role and the very intensive peer support training they do once they work with LifeWise.
People talk about things like continuity of care. Is that something that can be accomplished by calling LifeWise Warm Line, or is it just whoever answers is whoever answers?
No, absolutely. You can get a continuity of care in that you may not get the same person every time, but the nice thing about peer support is you don't need that because you're going to be dealing with what's in the moment. But the real asset that LifeWise offers for continuity of care is we've got our warm line, we've got our first responders warm line, but we've also got staff at Doorways locations throughout the province. We've got staff working at the new Mental Health and Addiction Centre. We've got staff on opioid dependency treatment teams, harm reduction teams. We've got staff in a variety of settings, and we're also very connected with the other mental health and addiction supports in NLHS. So if you call our warm line, I can guarantee you if you feel confusion or you feel like you don't know where to turn to receive support in NLHS, our Warm Line is a great one-stop shop to get answers to that and to get directed to real people who'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, now we know that people are in need of seeing face-to-face with social workers and therapists and counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, but this is a complimentary service and a hub of information. So we try to remind folks, when we hear the stories of you can't get help when you want help, there is help out there. It might not be the ultimate, like sitting across from a psychiatrist, but when we have some of these info hubs and a complimentary service, it still is important. So don't talk yourself into not thinking that there's any help or any support out there, because there is some, and it's the first step. If the first step is calling LifeWise and Warm Line, then it's a good one.
Absolutely. What I'd say, Patty, before I give you the numbers and let you take your next call is we very much view peer support as a complimentary service. I've got my own suite of healthcare professionals support me in my wellness, and sometimes I just like to speak to someone who's been there and gets it. And that's what peer support really offers. I absolutely need my clinical support. So I've had the same psychologist for over a decade, and I don't know what I'd do without her. And sometimes I want to speak to someone who knows what it feels like to be in that foxhole, who knows what it feels like to wake up in the middle of the night feeling certain things, who knows what it feels like when you're feeling catatonic, and that's really what we do. So I'll pass on the numbers, Patty.
Sure.
So our warm line is 709-753-2560. That's operational 365 days a year from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Island time, 11:30 to 11:30 Labrador. 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. and 9:30 to 11:30. And our first responders warm line is 709-237-4180. That one is 365 days a year, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Labrador time. Patty, so I appreciate you taking my call and allowing us to get our information out.
Happy to do it. Keep up the good work. Stay in touch, Brad.
Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. It's Brad Glynn, Executive Director at LifeWise Warm Line. All right, just a couple of questions coming my way about traffic concerns, congestion, whether or not the different routes are open. It is relatively helpful to go to 511.ca. You can put into the search tab, up in the upper left corner, it says search map. You can put in your desired route. You should be able to get an update there. Now, it won't give you an update insofar as if it's, bumper to bumper, the type of congestion people are experiencing. So if you've got some information based on your own recent travels, people are asking about Brigus Junction to St. John's, Shea Heights to Witless Bay, or whether it be the Foxtrap Access Road, Witless Bay Line. If you've got some experience that you can share so that people know what they're getting themselves into, or maybe to avoid a certain route, we're happy to share it here on the program. Let's get a break in. When we come back, the PC member for Topsail Paradise is Paul Dinn. He's next, then you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. As per an emailer, wants me to give a shout out, make people aware of the fact that at the Canada Games tonight, soccer on the boys' side, Newfoundland and Labrador versus Quebec. It's at King George V at 7:30. Let's keep going. Let's go to line number 5 and say good morning to the PC member for Topsail Paradise. That's Paul Dinn. Paul, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Uh-oh. Not doing very well with that phone line. Put Paul on hold. Let's go to line number 3. Brian, you're on the air. Hi, Brian.
And how are you today, sir?
Grand today. Thank you. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Patty, I think we're into a big crisis in regards of the phone system, cell phone system, and our emergency alert system.
Okay, what's going on?
Well, the phone system sucks, like everything else that they're getting away with. Our government is not saying that it's a state of emergency in our system. This is our lifeline, our phone system, and our alert system. Over this, since the fire started, I've missed several alert systems.
Before we get into the alerts, can you tell me what you mean by the phone system, like to call the government, or what do you mean?
I'm talking about cell phone system when you can't make a cell phone call.
Okay. I just want to make sure what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, we're paying for it, but we're not getting the service, and the government is just, mentioning it here and there. As far as I'm concerned, it's emergency that we should have it. It's a crisis.
I mean, I live in the city of St. John's, and there's places where I used to have full service, full reliable service, and now no longer. So is the blame to be placed on the government, or is the blame on the telecom companies who simply don't care?
Well, the provider simply don't care, and our government is not putting their foot to the floor and holding them responsible. They're collecting the money. The same with 911. They're collecting money from about the 911 on your cell phones, and people are not getting the service.
Yeah. Last year, there was a pilot project down the Burgeo Highway to enhance Wi-Fi hotspots, which would include cell phone coverage. We're doing 10 different areas again this summer. I can't find the information as to where they are, but I don't think there's any argument coming from me anyway about we need to have better cell phone service. Of course we do. And it's not just about necessarily I'm paying a bill and not getting reliable service. It absolutely can become a public safety issue. Absolutely right.
And I mean, it's our provincial government and our federal government. There was not one mention when the federal elections was on there a while back about the phone service. Not one politician brought it up. And the same thing with our provincial elections now. Not one candidate brought it up. Not one. I mean, it's a crisis, and it's time for the people to start jumping on it. There's too many people relying on what we got today.
Yes.
There's cell phone towers everywhere you go. There's cell phone towers.
And it's interesting, you hear from people that they can be sitting on the couch in the living room, look out their front window and see a transmission tower. They used to have 100% coverage. Now it's spotty, because I think some of that is, the numbers of people that are using the same towers, the 5G versus 3G and the SOS, which used to be much more reliable and cover much more geographical footprint. So there's a bunch of things that have led us to where we are, but it's totally and wholly unreliable in the vast majority of the province.
I mean, I heard on Facebook the mayor of Holyrood, Mr. Goovy,
yep,
and Darren Bent were talking back and forth with the providers, and nothing on it. They all talk and no action.
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, some of these big telecom companies are bigger operations than the provincial government. We're talking about monies.
Bigger than the provincial government. They're even bigger than the federal government.
I guess I know what you mean. Now, there has been a decision from the CRTC that should hopefully make things a little bit better. It was about sharing infrastructure, because that's long been one of the problems here, is that, unless the companies individually talk about adding capacity and adding towers, then you're just going to be beholden to whatever service you have. The CRTC has said that they have to be able to share infrastructure, especially with the smaller telecom companies trying to get into the market to try to make it more competitive in this country, because our bills are out of control as well. So Ottawa did not amend it at all. So at least that's one step in the right direction. That's not going to solve my issue or your issue today, but it can be helpful.
Yes, I agree. And another thing, I'm only bringing this up as being sarcastic. Maybe we should start a GoFundMe for the cell phone providers and the people that puts out this emergency alert system, because apparently they don't want to spend their money.
Yeah, fair enough.
They're a bunch of hypocrites. That's what they are. All talk and no action. Do something about it. We are the ones are putting the money up front. Do something. And let us hear. The election is not called yet. Let us hear the politicians fight about it and start complaining about it.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, campaign time is on. We know we have to have an election on or before the 14th of October. So, really, they're campaigning. And that's all understandable. Brian, I appreciate the time and the concern. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you kindly, and have a nice day.
The same to you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Let's keep rolling here. Let's go to line number 4. Say good morning to the PC member for Tops of Paradise. That's Paul Dinn. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How am I sounding?
Best kind. Clear line.
Perfect. No, I was in the queue waiting, and I guess you had a lot of calls on the fires, and I'll try not to be repetitive on that, but I guess first of all, I just want to shout out to all our firefighters, our first responders, armed forces, all the groups that have been involved in keeping us safe and trying to fight off these fires for us. To do that, and in the hot weather we have, and in the gear they're got on, it's just amazing what they're doing, and they're really true heroes for us. So I don't want that to be lost in this. and we need to help out in any way by not getting in their way and staying. Stop being the rubberneckers and stopping in the roads and looking at the fires and that. We need to do all we can to help them. So I shout out to them and I thank them so much for what they're doing. But I did want to call in and talk about the current fire. I'd say 80% of my district is in evacuation preparedness zone right now, and people are calling and people are emailing. Looking for information and wanting to know what's happening. And I've been trying to put what I can up on my site, and I know the town of CBS, town of Paradise have been doing the same, and the provincial government. And I think the onus is on us all to try and put the right information out there so that people can have the information they need and hopefully calm their anxiety, because I'm sure there's many people out there who have a spike in their anxiety when you're told you're in the evacuation zone or potential evacuation. And I know in the past we've dealt with being prepared before when we get weather events or hurricanes or just preparing for a house fire by having a fire extinguisher available. So this is no different, other than it's probably a bit more trying, but we need to be prepared. And there's lots of information out there on that, making sure you got all your documents, all your medications. You're basically packing a carry-on bag to go and taking all your important papers. So people need to be prepared for that. And if there's people that need help, you need to reach out to them. I listened to a call earlier this morning speaking about the Kingston fire in North Shore and talking about resources being pulled off that. That's an important point, and we need to be fire aware, because every additional fire that starts, our resources are diluted. And I know we've got the armed forces coming in. We have our neighboring provinces who have provided bombers and the like, but we still have limited resources. So we have to be very, very much fire aware, ensuring that we don't have any more that break out. People are doing what they can. Our resources are doing what they can, and we need to do what we can to ensure that they have everything they need and we're not in their way. And with that, the mental health was an issue, and I was glad to hear Brad from LifeWise call in. People need that information to call. I have two other numbers here that I thought might be useful. Bercy's busing here in the district. Bercy's are a great community company, and they have offered transportation for anyone who needs wheelchair accessible vehicles, and busing for anyone who needs to get out if and when the time comes. So I'll provide their number. So Bercy's busing number is 709-834-5510. So anyone who needs help that way, wheelchair accessible, and that they will help move you. The other thing, and it was talked about earlier about pets, I know posted as well, Rescue NL have offered to house pets that have to be taken out and nowhere to go. And Rescue NL has a number 709-853-3647. So if you have pets and you don't know where you can take them, they're offering to do that for you. So there's those numbers there. And as well, now I'm right smack in the middle of the evacuation zone, preparedness zone. I have two daughters in the zone as well, with house in the zone. My office is in the zone, so I'm totally affected by this as well. I'm working from home today because you may not get back to your house if and when the evacuation is called. So people need to be aware of that. But I'm available. We will still take calls if you need help. It's 729-6670. Or you can email me at pauldin.gov.nl.ca. So I just want to put that out there. We're all on the same page here. We're all trying to help. We're all trying to ensure calm before the storm. And, I'm here looking out my window. If I look, it's a beautiful day here in Paradise. And, off in the distance, you can see the smoke, and it's still going towards Galway, Southlands. But there was a slight increase in it overnight from the sources I've seen, and hopefully that doesn't continue to grow. And right now, it's not looking too bad from my perspective.
Fingers crossed for a bit of rain and cooperative conditions. And once again, bravo to everyone who's fighting the fires and helping the evacuees and all those types of supports. We really appreciate it. Paul, I'm off to the news. Appreciate the time.
No, thank you. And I just tell everyone, look, be safe, be fire aware, and reach out to those who may need help, because one of your callers talked about the alert system, and that's one message I'm getting, that some people received the alert and some didn't. So an extra phone call to someone in the area may help them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, all the best.
You too. Bye-bye. It's Paul Dinn, PC member, Tops of Paradise. Let's get a break for the news. When we get back, plenty show left for you. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back. Let's go to line number 5. Glenn, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. Very, very trying and difficult times. My heart goes out to the evacuees and especially to those who have lost their homes and lost probably everything that they own. You know, it's really heartbreaking. But Paddy, what I'm concerned about is lack of communications, and I don't mean a total lack of communications, but like, for example, we're hearing from the Premier, we're hearing from 2 cabinet ministers, and there's another gentleman sitting there on the right. I haven't even heard his name, but I'm wondering, and certainly there must be an incident commander, in charge of those fires, and that's the person that we need to hear from. I'm talking to a lot of people in the area, and I was in Bay Roberts this morning, and I had a doctor's appointment, and I stopped at Tim Hortons on the way back, and I talked to some evacuees there, and they don't know what's going on. Like, if there's an incident commander, he or she should be in those briefings, or have a briefing of their own or something, because people need to know. As you know, communications is key in any situation. It doesn't matter if it's a major situation or if it's, you have to let people know. People need to know if our resources are being allocated, in the right way, how they're, like yesterday, just to give an example, like yesterday, when that fire broke out at Paddy's Pond, very, very important to be attended to, when we know that. And there was rumors going around here that every resource, every bomber was pulled out of the Kingston fire. And by the way, that's the one that I'm really concerned about. I'm concerned about them all, because I have a daughter in the Paddy's Pond area as well. But was that true? Did they do that, or what's going on? And so like, the Premier needs to let us know that if there's somebody, is there anybody in charge?
Good question. For me, look, the updates are important, but similar to like when we talked about updates during the throes of the pandemic, I think to hear from people who are actually intimately involved in the operations of fighting the fires are a much more important voice than politicians. I know why they do it, and I appreciate the information, but very specific operational info that could be shared by fire duty managers and the like, that's the voice that I think we need to hear from all the time, more so than elected officials.
You're absolutely correct, Paddy. Photo ops are fine, but there's a time for photo ops. There's a time for for all that, and I'm not saying that that's what these people are doing, but it's very obvious. Like, I spoke with a cabinet minister on Sunday who was a friend of mine, and he answered my call, and I'm very grateful for that. And he said that he was going to be in this area this morning. Now, Paddy's Pond probably changed that, but that's fine. And he absolutely agreed. People need to know. People have lost their homes. And like this fire here on the Bay of Verde Peninsula, this peninsula, I think that the widest place on this peninsula, I think, is somewhere around 14 kilometers or something, and the fire has reached Ochre Pit Cove, for example. Ochre, if you're familiar with the structure of the peninsula, it's wide on the west, and then it narrows out as it goes north to towards Old Firligan. And I think the widest place there is about 14 kilometers. Now, so that tells me that fire, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist here, but that fire now is well more than halfway across the peninsula. So if this keeps going and the wind keeps going as it is, blowing as it, westerly as it is, it's going to be into Trinity Bay in a matter of a few days, and the North Shore Highway is already closed. If they have to close the Trinity North Highway, how the hell are people going to get out? There's going to be two ways, by sea or by air. This is. Look, there's lots of construction companies in this area, and as far as I'm concerned, every one of them now should be on the other end of that fire, safely, and fire breaks being made. Money should be no concern at all. Every construction company that is available should be in the woods as long as they're doing it safely.
Yeah, no arguments here. We'll try to, we did try to schedule time with the fire duty manager on this program this morning, but obviously that person is extremely busy and was on with Russell Bowers and Jerry Lynn Mackey on the morning show, but we'll try to get him on tomorrow to give us very specific updates on the utilization of ground crews, air crews, where they are, the thought process about shifting them around, what the criteria looks like. We'll try to get as much information as possible tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Paddy, you're absolutely right. Those fire duty officers are extremely busy. But, but let's get a communications person in there to help them. Strictly with communications, that person could relay that to that communicator and let him do his job. And I think probably not being critical, because I think you're doing a great job, but I think that the media could do a better job as well. I think they could give more updates. From these, talk to these people who have been appointed to communicate, and then relay it that way.
Media could always do a better job. No argument there.
We have all kinds of resources, and you can have as many resources as you like. If you don't utilize them right, then you may as well not have them, right?
That's a fact. Appreciate your time this morning, Glenn. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Paddy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now.
All right, let's try to get to the break on time. When we come back, Andre Bourassa is in the queue with hazard control technology, I believe. We'll hear from Andre right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number one. Say good morning to Andre Bourassa with Hazard Control Technology. Good morning, Andre. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy, and thank you to let me in. Please forgive my French. I'm calling from Quebec. I'm right in the middle of my territory. I'm the representative from Hazard Control Technologies for Eastern Canada. We do have a supplier of our product in your province, and we would like to be able to introduce it to some of these people in charge of these huge forest fire, because this technology is not a foam. It is PFAS-free, so safe for the environment, and it could be, for these fires, could be a good solution to help take control of these massive fire there.
So are we talking about what I think is called an encapsulator agent?
Exactly. It is an encapsulator agent.
So how is it different than traditional fire foams?
Okay, a traditional foam is relying on a blanket covered by small bubbles, and these bubbles contains water, and we know that the only way that we can absorb heat through water is by evaporating it, and it removes a certain amount of energy. But water is a very poor heat conductor, so a small amount of water is used when we fight fire for a fire. Well, I'm a retired firefighter from a full-time fire department here in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. We serve a population of well over 100,000 citizens, and I was in service there for 45 and a half years. So instead of relying of a good retirement, I gave myself the duty of educating people and giving information of people on this technology. And because it is an encapsulator, not only does it remove heat a lot faster than plain water or than foam, but it does encapsulate the toxins in the smoke. The city of Laval, right north to Montreal, have done a study through the University of Ottawa proving that between 65 to over 95% of the toxins in the smoke when you fight fire using this technology, the toxins are reduced, and depending on the specific toxin that were analyzed from the university, the reduction were between 60 and to over 95%, so which is a game changer for safety and health of firefighter. And here in Quebec, we've done a tremendous work since I'm with this company 7 years ago, and aside from the two largest cities, Montreal and Quebec, name any other large city in the province of Quebec, they all are using our technology today.
How is it deployed?
Or you use it exactly the same way as you would be using plain water, and to apply the product into your water, you use the similar equipment that the fire department already have on hand to add foam. It is exactly the same way to apply plain water compared to foam that you need to apply it on very specific matters. And the other thing is that we do have a testimony letters from Bombardier who make those plane that bombs water over forest fire, and on the request of the Italian government a couple years ago, Bombardier says the use of this product is safe with their plane, so it can be used, and again, it is PFAS free, so it is no harmful for the environment.
How effective is it out of the different so-called classes of fires? Because, there's a difference between a wood fire, an electrical fire, and some hazardous material fire. So is it effective across the board or for very specific classes of fire?
Okay, it is very effective on any types of fire, and actually the fire we are talking right now are what we call Class A fire, which is wood. This product can be used on any of the types of fire, and currently we do have proven that we put out lithium-ion battery fire. So car fire can be put out using this technology, and we do have some proof of that. So, and to come back on your types of fire, actually Class A fire, if you look at huge tire fire, okay, a tire is a solid material, so it is a Class A fire. I suggest that you Google on your internet and go and see Gila River Tire Fire, Gila River Tire Fire. There are 16 piles of tire. Each pile is 175 foot long, 50 foot wide, 50 foot high. 16s are burning for days, and they request a special shipment of our technology, and when they came on with F500, the entire scene, remember 16 piles of tires are burning. Within one morning, the fire was under control. And in 2019, if you do some research, there was these huge Amazon fire, and hazard control was brought into action over there to help these people to combat these huge forests. And since Amazon is in the region of South and Central America, a lot of country now is using our technology for these types of fires. So there's no reason why your province couldn't try it. And it can be used for land crew, and it can be used with backpacks. It can be used by firefighter who could go along the road and spray with their master stream over the trees to make a fire barrier. It has a very good heat resistance, very good burn back resistance, what we call, and it can also use with the planes and helicopters. So
what's the conversation sound like between your company and the province if we're talking about something that you're saying and telling us is as effective as you say?
Yes, it is very effective, and I suggest that you get in touch with our distributor over your province. He currently lives in St. John. His name is Douglas Kirby. He owns the company named First Response Supply. So if you get in touch with Douglas Kirby, his phone number is 709 682-8403. He may be able to get you in touch with some of the fire department in your province who already use this product and can testimony of the efficiency of the product.
Will do. I appreciate you making time for the show, Andre. Thank you.
I thank you, and be safe there, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, likely the final word goes to line number 3. Grace, you're on the air.
Good day, Patty. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
First, I'm a retired veteran, and I did past volunteer experience with the Canadian Red Cross Disaster Management Team. And I just want to give a big, huge shout out again, to all the first responders and volunteers that are digitally, really stepping up and out to help everyone. So I guess I really got 2 questions. I just wanted to put one out there. It's for anybody that is a retired veteran or first responder. Where can they go if they want to help? Like, where is the help needed? And the second question would be, has anybody in the government looked into or done research into use of drones to help put the fires out?
That's an interesting question. There is testing at this moment in British Columbia using something what they call the Thunder Wasp drone to do exactly that, to play a role in firefighting or fire suppression. So I don't know how far along they are in that particular test, but that's something that I think I could probably find out. I read a story about it not too long ago. It's some organization called the Strategic National Resource Group Test. So I'm going to chase that now that you put it back in my mind.
Okay, great, Patty. If you need the email address, you can reach out to me after. I know one of the gentlemen, he is a retired veteran that's a part of that company. Like he was explaining to me, showed me, this was a few months back last year when they started this project, that they have the technology is what they're trying to do, that these drones actually respond and are putting water on the fire before human can respond.
Yeah, it's an interest. Look, whether it be the water scooper helicopters or these drones, and someone from Cougar Helicopter sent me an email this morning talking about their parent companies, some of the, I can't remember what it was called now, a certain kind of helicopter that's been very effective in the past. So it's not all water bombers, it's all of the above that we have to utilize. But I am going to get in touch with that crowd out in BC because there wasn't a name in the news story. I'll see if I can figure out exactly where they are on that technology.
Okay, and Chris, Gillen, was the gentleman I was in contact with.
Okay.
So, like I say, I can get you his email. I've already sent him an email earlier this morning, just in case, but I can certainly get that to you guys as well.
Send it along. We'd appreciate it.
Perfect. And as for the retired veterans and first responders and people that may want to help, is there a place that people can contact, or has there been information passed out on that yet, Patty?
Not that I know of. Now, I guess the only way to do it is to go through the government department responsible. So it's a branch of the Department of Justice. So you're going to have to reach out to what they call the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre. That's who manages the Emergency Services Division. They'd be in charge of that, I would imagine, and that coordination. So that's where I would start.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and so that's available on their website then, their number?
Yeah, if you just go to the Department of Justice and go down to the various branches, you'll find it there.
Okay, perfect. And stay safe, everyone. My daughter is in the alert area as well, so we have our car packed and kind of just hanging around waiting and watching the destruction happen.
That's
sadly.
terrible. Appreciate your time, Grace. Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe, everyone.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye. So I don't think we can get Marlene on here now because we're off to the news. So good show today. Big thanks to all hands, and we will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.